Hello again, and welcome back to the Slow Flowers Show with Deborah Prinzing, episode 553. I'm very excited about today's conversation. My guests are Hitomi Gilliam and Gregor Lersch, renowned international floral design educators who have just launched a new endeavor called the FREESIA Challenge. You'll have to listen closely to learn what the acronym FREESIA represents. It's an initiative to engage florists, especially floral educators, to motivate the new generation of florists and students to begin challenging themselves to seek creative solutions for sustainable floristry. Like so many of us, Hitomi and Gregor believe that by sharing ideas and innovation through the creative process, it's possible to move the profession to much needed, sustainable, and eco-friendly practices. The FREESIA Challenge includes a 4-category design competition free for anyone to participate. The first challenge is a 100% organic hand-tied bouquet, and the entry deadline is coming right up on April 12th. So you'll want to check out all the details at FREESIAchallenge.com. Let's jump right in and learn more, and I'll share our sponsor thanks at the end. Well, hello today. This is Deborah Prinzing of the Slow Flowers Show, and I am thrilled to welcome 2 international superstars as my guests today. First, I want to welcome Gregor Lersch, all the way from Germany. Hi, Gregor.
Hi, Deborah.
Thanks for joining me. And his partner in many things, Hitomi Gilliam. Hi, Hitomi. You're coming to us from Vancouver, British Columbia, Canada.
Yeah, so it's great to be here, Deborah.
Well, thanks. First of all, I have to acknowledge that we were all together about 2 years ago at Hitomi's Trends Summit, where Gregor was one of the main educators. He was the key. He was the show headliner, I think, right before COVID.
I think so.
Well, Hitomi, that hasn't really slowed you down, and Gregor, that hasn't slowed you down. You said COVID, what COVID? And you kept teaching.
Well, I mean, there was a little lull there, of course. I mean, we were all in shock, and it took a little bit of time, but we really had to just get started again, right? We had to kind of reset and see what this new environment is and see what we can do to continue educating.
So you two ran a series, was it last year or the year before? It was sort of a thematic was it a woodland or a green series? I can't remember exactly what it was called.
Yeah, actually we had, it started with wood talks, and then we went to green talks, and then we went to the organics.
Okay. And how did that go? Gregor, weigh in and let us know how you like teaching on Zoom.
I should not say I like or don't like Zoom, but I would say 2 years ago, Zoom started actually to bring me in a total different life, because I was always a very analog person, and also a person who would be mostly in front of people and working and talking, mostly both together, which I think is absolutely important, that we can speak and work at the same time, and then both speedy and still it should make sense. But I need to say, to talk to a piece of plastic and with a little metal and glass called an iPhone and make something like usually the TV speakers would do, then I really had to tell you, that was for me a hard burden. 2 years ago, when I did my first video on organic, which was actually a very risky thing, because I had something where I was not sure that people would have an open eye or an open heart for in this pandemic time. So then I started actually with working not against the camera, actually with the camera. And that started actually 2 years ago. But then when we reminded each other of what we would find in the summit in Vancouver, I really thought, with Hitomi, we want to work together years ago, and it did not work out because of some circumstances in my pace here. And now it was really, I said, this is the time, this is the turn where we can bring together our very green, I would not say thumb, I would say it's more than the thumb, it is actually the heart. And yeah, and it started a very intense cooperation, even if we are farthest away because of our time zone difference is 9 hours. So
Wow.
I tell you.
Wow. Well, so that led that collaboration of teaching together in various series with themes, and I can't believe we actually remember the names of those, Hitomi. So I'm excited about that. They built. It seems like you first of all you reached out students who hadn't been able to study with either one of you before, maybe because of the cost of travel or just their own circumstances. So that was probably built a whole new community of people who were saying to you, well, what are you going to teach next? This new project, which you've just launched, called FREESIA, Florists Recognizing Environmental and Eco-Sustainable Ideas and Applications. First of all, I'm never good at acronyms, but that's a great one. Talk about how this collective idea came together and how the two of you developed the curriculum.
You know, it actually was very sequential. Really, when we started with Wood Talks, that had definitely organic element as its core, and then and that was in the fall, so it was perfect, to be sort of at the end of the season and looking at woody things and things that are at the end of its life and hardening. And then we followed it up with Green Talks, which was early spring, and it's all the fleshy stem, very herbaceous. And then we followed it up with the organics, which became like, it just sort of built into a flow that led to really where we are today with FREESIA. And when we did the organics, it was so exciting. It was kind of for Gregor revisiting a lot of different things that he's done over his career. He often talks about how back in the 90s, even, he was kind of like considered like the nature's apostle, because he worked very organically, maybe a little bit ahead of his times at that point, because people are not really locked into that just yet. But we felt that this was really the right time, because when we introduced it into our program, everybody just got so excited about it. I think the thought of designing organically, thinking sustainable floristry, which really came from the Trend Summit, when we actually sort of defined it for us, to target that's our future. I think it just all came together. And during the COVID times, I really feel like people had time to think about it and absorb it, and so that's kind of how it came to be. And it's so interesting that then led to, Gregor was saying, like, why don't we do a competition? Because what we found during the organics class was when the students did the student challenges, we would give them a project and they would come up with designs, and during the student review, they talk about what they try to achieve. And we just found just actually an amazing variety of approach and different discoveries with each one of them, different new materials that they were using in their supplies that were not the one-time single-use stuff that we've been using. And it just became like, wow, this is really becoming like, real brainstorming sessions. And so that's why it led to this opportunity to maybe do something like a competition.
Great.
Yeah.
Well, Gregor, I think that you are the OG. Like, you were the guy using twigs and branches and nature elements from nature all through your career. And I love that you called, what did you call him? The twig apostle, Hitomi, or the organic?
No. It was actually a lady who worked very much with dry flowers. She was a producer for dry flowers. And she said in the German dialect, she said, like, Mr. Lersch, we understood you are the nature apostle. And I said, I had enough already, But then she catched me back and said, come on, don't be upset. I know who you are and what you are doing. And yes, I'm very much interested. I built it even as a child. I was building the kripa, for Christmas, the bellon, the how you call it in English? In Spanish is bellon, the kripa, where where the child was born and all this. I made
Yeah.
everything out of sticks. But I don't want to flirt with sweet stories of my childhood. But no. This is, everybody has such things. But I also, when I look around here for my online class, which I'm doing right now, there is an iron ring, which is holding grapevine sticks in the air, and then some winterly cones looking down, and then there will be moss embaled tulips, bulbs, the short tulips and ivy and that. So all these things I would even resolve years ago, maybe with a bit of the bind wire, the paper covered wire, but now going with the waxed hemp and with raffia and with this. If some of the things, even bigger things, often they go to the bin and there is nothing what even would be found in 1 year, in 10 years, in 1,000 years. So what we are now still having from the old people from Rome and Greek people and everything. So we find a lot of stuff from long time ago, but I actually decided, I should say, we decided, Hitomi and me, that we want to help the floristry to become one of the first very organic professions. We see how hard it is actually for people who distribute medical things, food, where we keep the bacteria, the bugs, and every bad stuff out. But with the flowers, we don't really need so much of this plastic division and all that. And it is not about only the foam, We started to, in the last years, to always knock on the head of the foam. I said it is not the foam. When I see in Christmas time what we florists are distributing in,
No kidding.
in packaging rubbish and also decoration stuff, I think it is also a matter of taste. All these artificial things, they carry for a long time color, what nature gives up after a couple of weeks, days, or whenever. And I think it is, but we are convinced that it is possible that in this profession can be a lot avoided, and that other professions start to look a little envy to us, that we are actually working with something which is pure out of nature. And it can be copied from some other professions. And yeah, but the only doubt what I have is that we make a big wave of organic and sustainable, and it should be not seen like a fashion, like a wave. It should be seen as a must, and a must which still gives pleasure to people when they get flowers, and not think always this eco kind of looking. That's what I got to hear in the 90s when I came with my wonderful water lilies. They were wonderfully dried, and I don't know how they did it. It was an Italian firm, and they give me that. And then people were standing in front of our window, and I heard it sometimes from our balcony. They said, always this eco look with these Lersch. And I said, the time is not ready for that. But now, after the half of the world is complaining about that we go under in our plastic and we start eating it all the time and drinking it all the time. So I think now the joke is up, it's over.
Yeah.
So we become too serious, and I want to do this out of my conviction. Yes, I want to.
But you also are using all of your, sort of lifelong guiding principles of good design and showing. I think the education is the part. It's one thing to say, let's be foam free, or let's not use single-use plastics, or let's be organic. But if you don't show students ideas and give them the right tools, I think it's just going to be frustrating. And Hitomi, that's why you and Gregor created the FREESIA challenge, right?
Exactly. The thing is, the future is brighter when it comes to sustainable floristry if we start teaching it. It's through education that the future is going to be what it needs to be. And so the first call out really are to a lot of the educators out there, because we have to have the knowledge to be able to teach this. We have to have the just different like we would need to have experimented well to be able to advise to teach properly, and in the process of hosting a competition, we can teach from the competition and through the competition, and this way too we get people engaged, right? So that we're not just showing it, but we're also sharing what other people are creating in this direction. So I think it's just the right way, the right tool to really get people engaged in this process.
So you've come up with 4 themes, and it launched in last month. I signed up for it, and I have no desire to compete, but I just wanted to watch the tutorials and follow along. So the first theme is the organic hand-tied bouquet, and that you've taught already, right?
Yes, we actually did a session on that, and it's interesting because Gregor and I, when we did our organics class, it was one of the first thing we wanted to share, because the gift of flowers, the flowers themselves are organic material. They compost. It's what we put in it. It's the supplies that we work with, what we tie with, what we accentuate it with, the little bit of decoration that we put around it, the wrapping around it. It's those things that becomes the uncompostable components. And so it's a no-brainer that if we kind of switch the way we think and only use things that are compostable to go with it, that it's a totally compatible items that where the whole thing is 100% compostable. I mean, what a dream when somebody that receives that gift doesn't have to separate anything. They can really literally toss the whole thing into their compost. I mean, that's a dream. Yeah.
Well, what I observed when you were both teaching, and Gregor, you made a number of pieces, and Hitomi, I think you had a number of pieces also. There was so much activity in the chat, people asking about how do you find the wax-covered hemp twine, and other materials that I think the tubes maybe, the other materials that we're using. Are these things that are you think are going to become more readily available in the floral marketplace? Like, I'm sure you're using these in your studio, Gregor, right?
Yes, but still, till now, I have to cut the bamboo things myself. And I was last week in southern Italy, in Naples, and I spoke to some guys, and I said, do you have any access to bamboo? And that bamboo grows here everywhere. That's what they told me. I said, you need only somebody who is willing to cut them, and to cut them in different sizes and all that, and give them in the fresh kind in plastic bags so that they last maybe 2 weeks, that they stay green in there, or 3. And then they would go over the fresh market. And then if you have the dry ones, they could be endless going through the floral supply, whatever they all have. But I think it doesn't make sense to have only one product. I think if some wholesalers, some distributors, if they install themselves for having this and even packaging and the strings and raffia and tubes, and then pods lined out with wax, some pods lined out with wax and all that. Now, and it is actually, when you start to get active with this, I found a producer in Austria for wool, which is actually now experimenting, and they have already the first product for the winter time to mix paper and wool. So it is a affordable layer, so the affordable price, and it will be in September or October. There will be the first samples where Hitomi and me can work with. So I think to seduce an industry which was spoiled by importation from Asia, plus using from a little piece of chemical plastic and blow it up in a huge block of foam or in thousands meters of sheet. The massification also of necessary profit, they should have profit, like we do. And this is so easy. People were so spoiled with this. You know, all the silk flowers who came for little money to Europe, to America, and people could make a high markup 2-3 times, and when they started designing, even more. How spoiled were we with all these unorganic things?
Right.
And it will take a long time till we have, not a long time, but an intense working on.
At least one generation of professionals, right?
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
Yes, 10 years, yeah.
So the profit motive is also, I think, being driven by the consumer who's asking the floral profession to be more sustainable, right? I mean, sometimes people change for various reasons, and some of it is just to keep their business relevant.
Yeah,
You
and
told
I
me.
think,
You speak.
I think we're in a situation now that we not only we believe and we want to teach, but also the consumers are going to start to demand it. And people are choosing the florist that is going to suit their their belief in the sustainability. And so again, it's the right time to sort of match up the people who's going to do this right with the consumers who want to buy a product that fits that mode. So I think it really is, the timing is absolutely right. But as Gregor mentioned, we're hoping that, like with the FREESIA challenge and what we're working with this whole concept, is that we're going without like sponsors.
Right.
It's self-supported, because we don't want to be driven by companies that want us to sell things on their behalf and push their product. What we're trying to do is kind of be free of it, so that people could, like the florists, can come up with ideas and things like, we're using the wax string and like the bamboo and that, and we're hoping that it will generate excitement and the quantity of use that will drive some of these manufacturers to make and produce the items that we really want to use that are sustainable. Right. That's what we're hoping to do.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's such a good point. Like we're not trying to put anyone out of business. We just want them to respond to requests for innovation, which the two of you are like at the pinnacle of driving innovation. You always have been. And you've always had to find the workaround, right? Like the hack. And now maybe if there were products that were available on, in, like you said, better pricing, or readily available, will be adopted by more people.
I mean, it would totally make sense to me that the beeswax, the hemp string, can become like, I just hope that one of the manufacturers will realize that, hey, that is a better option, that they want to go that direction, because soon as you start to get them to funnel into that direction and realize that the market is there, then they'll start to be on board and looking, helping us look for more things that are more organic. I think that's the intent.
Yeah, and it looks better. If I have a bundle, if I have a hay on the table, and I want to make a form out of hay, and then I start wrapping this with the waxed hemp, or with the wax string, or with raffia, and I start wrapping it. And then I look to it and I say, hey, nothing is glitzing and nothing is oxidizing. And okay, it doesn't, it lasts, yes. And the wax string especially lasts very well, because of it comes originally, I think, from the shoe industry. So that shoes have to do a hard job for us, And so it lasts very well. And everything like that. I don't want to look too much to the basic product, what we just are mentioning. If I think what Hitomi, she was looking for so many different things in the internet. She's better in internet than me, obviously. And
you're here. You got on this call.
Yeah, I got on this call, but it was something where I found you, which was not so easy, because I'm very simple in email and WhatsApp, and then maybe the Facebook page. But no, I am here now. Don't let me complain about my analog life attitude. And so when I look here to I have a funeral thing now going on. So there are so many things which are out of straw, which are out of raffia, which are out of sticks. Sure, my friendship to sticks is obvious. And then a wreath which is opening itself like a curtain on a stand with the tubes hanging are bamboo tubes. And then the bamboo tubes are waxed from inside. So we should talk very much from wax, beeswax or soya wax, so that the bamboo is not drinking too much itself, maybe.
Interesting. So it's more waterproof.
Yeah, yeah, all of this. So Hitomi and me, we are pretty far with this. And I am happy that I have some feet in some doors when it comes to organic support for the organic side of floristry. I was in Spain 3-4 weeks ago, and it was a class, 3 days, floristry with GL and doing organic, 100% organic or sustainable. I was asking the lady, do you like any paper wire or something like this still involved? She said, no, we do 100%. And you know that the Spanish and the Italian people, they have a lot of weddings and all that they were open, even in their little daily floristry, to do that step. And there was a firm involved from Valencia, and and they were excited about that they would be able to offer this to the Spanish market. They have several places,
That's
and
awesome.
they have in their logo, they have the name like Green Natura, and so I don't say it now in Spanish, but Green Natura. And hey, I said, look, you have that name, you have that logo, and I don't actually believe that you should stick on all that stuff what is polluting, especially for Christmas time, half of the world. And yeah, the guy said, we should have you in the next meeting for the buyers, that you tell them what actually could be offered to a good price to the florists, that they can work with this. So things are on the way,
Yeah,
but it must
that's
be
awesome.
happening more, but
Well,
Yeah.
and it's so interesting. We were talking, this isn't fashion, and I thoroughly agree with you. I feel like this is a cultural shift, and we've been preaching that at Slow Flowers for 10 years. And I am not a designer myself, and I think about foam alternatives, but I hadn't really seen the ripple effect that you two are making waves with, that is showing like it's beyond just one product. It's the full circle of design. And the FREESIA challenge is really bringing it all together. So thank you both. This is exciting. Let me talk about the competition. So the first session is, you've already recorded, or people have been able to watch it live, but if they've signed up, they can watch the replay, right, and do their entry, their submission
Yes.
for the challenge.
Well, the thing is, it's not a requirement for them to watch that program. That is to help them kind of introduce them to the idea
Yeah.
of how you might go about
and
it.
see ideas from you and Gregor on screen for a 3-hour session. It was amazing.
Yeah, it's kind of fun. And we're going to do that with every one of the categories that's upcoming. The next one is a plant design. And then the third one is the sympathy design. And then, yeah, right there in behind him, he's showing that's the organic sympathy.
Oh,
and
wow.
then we go on to the event design. The
Okay.
interesting thing about the next 3 categories beyond the 100% organic is that we start to introduce things that are not necessarily organic as in compostable, because we will be using containers. So now we're going to be searching for containers that are earth friendly, or like mechanics that may, because that's the flip side of floristry, is that there's the organic material, the flowers themselves, but the other things that we use with it. So with sympathy, there's the easel, or there's the, whatever the base that
The
you
spray or
use.
something. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we want to make that most of it as compostable as possible, but whatever that you use to support it, and same with event work, whether it's on arch or whatever, we want to make sure that there are things that will be reused. That's the other side, is if you're going to make something that is going to stay, you want to reuse it as many times as possible. So you're going to build it strong and build it with materials that will hold up for a long time, so that you can do it one time and use it 100 times. So
Well,
that's
yeah.
the other side of floristry, that there's that about it. Yeah.
That's a really good point. And when I was up with you in Vancouver watching Gregor teach and watching you teach, Hitomi, I felt like that was a core component of what you taught. You showed people how to create almost like sculptural elements that flowers can be integrated into, but that sculptural element is wood-based or wire-based, but it's wrapped, it's decorative, but it has an afterlife for the next installation that you're doing. I mean, that's been a long...
Exactly.
You've been doing that already.
Yeah, we want to discourage making like slap things together that has wire and all that is a single use. Like we if you're gonna do work that it involves those kind of material, you want to make it to last, so that you get many use out of it. It makes total sense, not only in efficiency, in the amount of time that it takes to make it. It's worth it if you can use it many times. That's the whole idea behind that side of floristry. Yeah.
That's a good point. So the next session is, I see on the website it says coming April 24th. Is that actually when the two of you are going to do another like mega session, and people can log in and watch Gregor teach several concepts with plant design and you teach concepts, Hitomi, or is it?
Actually, it's actually April 30th.
Okay.
April 30th is the
I
date.
I got a shock just now. It was another date. I said,
Oh,
that
maybe I read that wrong. So it's April 30th, so people can
that's
sign up.
what I have in mind. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Hitomi, can people join in now, and if they missed the first session, and
absolutely.
I know there's two parts. There's the challenge, but there's also the education.
Right. The education part, they can access at any time, and they'll get the whole thing, because you get the recording. If it's past it, you still get the recording. And I think it's worthwhile to see all the components, because it'll give you a much more broader range of the different aspect of floristry that we're going to address. Because we want to make it so that it's not something that we dream about doing, that it really is something that you can utilize in a flower business day to day. Ideas that we can slowly kind of go in this direction and become more and more the role model and example of what sustainability is all about. So you can pick up into this kind of these tutorials at any time and see the whole series. Yes.
So what are you going to teach next, Gregor? Can you give us a little hint about what is going to be part of your living plant design education?
The plant design is very much of important that people get more knowledge about what kind of plants go together for such and such surrounding. And so I'm just sometimes shocked how, when I speak, just give me this eucomis there. It was a plant of eucomis bicolor, the pineapple lily.
Right.
And then they bring me a daffodil or what, So I think this is really something. So I don't want to start anything talking about. We teach now botany. But we should really find a fascinating way for people that the organic floristry, which in plant design is a different subject, like having just plastic bowls or plastic baskets, or even real baskets lined out with plastic, and then filling soil in and planting it. That is not so much the terrible stuff what our profession is doing, because of there's that basket, there's that plastic line out, there is the soil, it's okay, hopefully, and this is the plant, mostly regional grown.
Right.
So I don't think in these fields we are terrible sinners, but when I see around the houses here in our region, so what all these not home depots, all these big markets. No, not the nurseries. It is more these big markets.
Big box stores.
Okay.
Yes, and what all of stuff is, which is unsustainable, what is standing around the houses. So it's really littering up more and more. And I think sometimes, what the hell are these people selling? And this is unbelievable. And not only the stuff for children, which I also sometimes had to avoid here in my nursery. I'm in the garden here. And that the little sandbox is not out of blue plastic. The swimming thing for the baby was in red or in pink. So, and then the plastic was glimpsing out also in my surrounding here. And I said, no. We have to really look out for something which is not hurting the eye. And this is what makes me scared, that it hurts the eye and that some people don't feel it. And that is also the trap in which we can fall back in a couple of years. Somebody says, oh, like years ago here in Germany, we give it a green point, and when it has the green point on anything, it goes in this bin, and then more and more things had a green point. And but also many things came back. And I don't know if I make myself clear what I mean. I'm so afraid from that swing back. And let me really speak it out. I don't want to paint that whole thing, what we are doing here, just pink, like in a pink cloud, and saying we are doing wonderful things. That is my fear, that we swing back to this dirty old times at the end of 90s. I saw it all coming back.
I think you're right. We have to continually question and evaluate our choices, because we have the power through our privilege to make those choices and do the right thing. And I think you're empowering people in the profession as leaders to make the right choice and do a little better every day.
So when I see that organic class in Spain, then I see this, it could work.
Yes.
So I had 35 people there, and there was not one person saying, oh, I have my doubts and this and that. No, it was very positive. I have hope. Yeah.
That's great. When the challenge takes place and and this is just optional, but they can design, like, for example, the organic hand-tied bouquet. People are sending you a photo entry. Is that how it comes in, Hitomi?
Yes, we're asking for like 3 to 5 images, and with the organic bouquet, we want the number one shot, the one that is going to be seen. If it wins or whatever. I mean, the one that is the
showpiece,
the front showpiece.
Yeah.
But we want them also to show the mechanics behind it, so that we can see close up what they have used. If they build a structure for the bouquet, for instance, so that, it's just a proof that they've gone through the process to really scrutinize what they've used. They have to also give a flower list as well as the supply list, exactly what they use. Because when we say 100% organic, and the interesting thing is, between Gregor and I, we put together a judging sheet that we'll be, using. And this is what is really also very exciting, is that this judging sheet is no longer just the aesthetics. There's the aesthetic side of it, that it'll be judged by elements and principles. And then there's the sustainable side of it, so that it's judged on both sides.
That's awesome.
So, and so with 100% organic, like there's like a certain score, like say there's 10 points for 100% organic. It's either 10 points or 0 points, because if it's 100% organic, if you didn't do it 100%, then you're not going to get those 10 points.
There's no partial. Yeah.
Exactly, because we're stating.
when you
Go.
have a nice wrapped thing there, it looks like a tube, and there is that little glitz from the plastic or from the glass underneath. Then you know somebody is not doing well. And the glitz of the glue, the glitz of the wire, and you see actually, and that is the wonderful thing about organic. If organic is not pure organic, it shines through. You see it.
Yeah.
Well,
You know,
yeah,
and
you also teach that it's okay to show your mechanics as part of the overall design, Gregor, and I
that
think
is
Yes.
what we do. And if you see this kind of stuff here, it's on a straw ring wrapped with the wax rope, the ring itself, then wrapped again the leaves on, then the base is a moss base, but then we should be careful that we don't use too much moss altogether from the nature. So now I am thinking about how these kind of things can be done, also having water and not harming the environment again. So, okay, the flowers are flowers, so that is not the problem.
right, right.
But our technical stuff is not, I say it now after thinking for years about organic, the most harming what we are putting into this, through this profession into the world is packaging what we receive, packaging what we give ahead, and it is decorative items too. Is that the word? Pimp up the flowers or what? I don't know. You know that the
Tarred
flowers,
up, yeah.
yeah, that the flowers look better. And I say, come on, the flowers. If people have not the closeness to flowers anymore, I don't know that a red ribbon and a chain of pearls in something does not really save this lacking of feeling, you know? So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Amen, brother. I agree with you completely. And I also have always felt like if people truly are artists, the artists are problem solvers, and they should not rely on these crutches of simplicity or convenience. So that's exactly what you were just saying. Like, the flower is so exquisitely beautiful, it doesn't need to be pimped up or tarted up. It can.
Yeah.
If it's used correctly with your design principles, it should shine. And how cool that we can celebrate that now rather than throw everything at it to try to make it sparkle or whatever.
I had a very nice thing about this, you know, flowers. I said flowers don't need actually anything what to make them more beautiful. And then someone who was very much from the fraction of using a lot of unsustainable things, he said to me, "Yeah, now what is about women? If we would not put this lipstick on, or we would not have this nail thing, and then we have this and this." I said, "Come on, this is another thing. Flowers are innocent."
Okay, that means I can not have to wear makeup every day. I'm going to follow your philosophy, Gregor.
Yes, flowers are innocent. I say people still decide for themselves, but flowers, if we give them in such a surrounding, they are our victims. So, and the flowers are so innocent. You know, even an animal can scratch or bite you, but I think the flowers actually don't do anything.
I love that.
And yeah, but it becomes maybe now a little too sweet what I'm talking, but
I know where you're going with it. Okay, so just before we wrap up, I want to know, how are people going to be able to see these entries, and what's the end? What happens at the conclusion of the FREESIA challenge? Because I know you've got some cool things planned, and I'm excited to hear about it.
Yeah, it really is. It is very exciting. So, like at the end of each challenge, like, because each of the 4 challenge has a certain time span
Sure.
to which things are submitted, and then we ended by revealing the winners.
Okay.
And then so times 4.
Right.
And then it all ends up like, actually the prize for the winner, the actual winner of each category, actually gets a paid speaking engagement at our FREESIA Summit, which will be in September. It's a 3-day virtual meeting that will discuss sustainability and floristry. We'll have many guest speakers who will be presenting, either demos or a lecture. And we already have like Sue McCleary, we have Shane Conley, we have Per Benjamin, we have Max van der Sluis, of course, Gregor and myself. And there'll be 4 winners that will be paid speaker to present their idea. Because really, we really feel that it's really about strengthening number. It's not just I talk about, or, as you've done for many years, Deborah, with what you're doing with Soul Flowers. It's about building the community around it, and more thinkers, deep thinkers, and, shakers and movers that we can then really become a force. And we really feel that everybody's voices needs to be heard that feel the same way about this. So it does end up in this FREESIA Summit, which is really a takeoff of our Trend Summit. Trend Summit was based on product manufacturers and using, creating trends based on what's being produced already by the manufacturers, dictated quite a bit by the product. And this one is driven by our us with our thinking cap on and coming up with ideas that will move us more quickly to sustainable floristry.
And that conference, FREESIA Summit, is going to be completely online, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, it's all virtual.
Wow. All right. Well, this is exciting. I'm so glad the 3 of us finally found 1 hour in our lives to be together. I thank you both for your generosity and your friendship, and just you're so progressive in always asking what's next. And the dynamic of the Gregor Hitomi team is quite impressive. And I know you have a lot of fun, but you also have a mission. And so we feel like we're completely in alignment with that, and I want to help promote it and get our community, our listeners, our audience, and our members to know about this. So we'll share all the links for people who are interested in jumping in on the FREESIA Challenge. And if you sign up, and it's very affordable for the number of hours of education, I think it boils down to $10 an hour of education for what you're charging. But people can watch the first one, and then the second session, I didn't mean to scare you, Gregor, it's coming up on April 30th. And I think it's a great gift to the profession, and a really interesting new model that is, as you said, sponsor free. So I thank you for that. And anything else you want to say before we wrap up?
Well, you know what? I do want to say this, that what this has done is actually brought a whole new area to explore. It really is. It's like a whole new area of study, and it's really exciting. I think that's what it's really pioneering into a new kind of floristry. And, because we're all about mechanics, techniques, but now it's like a whole new area to explore. And that's what we need to do for these new young generation of florists that we want to nurture in the right direction. Exactly.
Right. Right. You're changing even how teaching happens, and
yes,
who gets to teach. And did we lose Gregor? He's going to show us something, I think.
No. I saw that bamboo wreath there, which I want to put on the table, and that it has, it's too, I don't get it out of there. And there is hundreds of bamboo tubes standing on a wooden ring, and is clamped on, and then I will have a parallel meadowish flower thing with clematis, with spring flowers, little tulips, and all that. So that also what ends up on the cemetery is not a burden for the city people anymore. When I see when they pull a compost apart after a year or two, what is all coming out of there. So that should be not the problem. It goes back to pure soil. And then if I think of large room design, then we also should trust a little bit that people, when they have this recyclables, like stands and like boards
Bases,
and
yeah.
stuff, spaces. But I am already looking out for something which is just placed on, so that even the taking apart later is not a time burden. Then people have always an excuse. Yeah, this bowl was so cheap. And it goes to the bin as well.
Yes.
You know, this is the problem. Then it goes
Yeah.
into the landfill and all that. We want to also put the finger on that. But you know, Hitomi and me, we are beyond 50. Beyond 50, I am beyond 70. You know, I'm over 70. I say it who it is, how it is. But we need actually the other generations. We have in many countries also the people who start to do very organic things. And we should not fall back into these old habits sometimes in our profession. Oh, I do this better than you, or that I do more organic like you. So we should really support each other, because of it goes about something very important, which is the life of our future generations. So that is what really is, at the end of the day, what counts.
And then you're leaving a legacy that someone else can pick up the baton and run with. So
Absolutely.
I think that's why you're so beloved by your students and why you're energized by teaching. So I will see you on the 30th when I log in, and maybe I'll say hello in the chat. We will
We'd love
share.
that.
We will share this at slowflowerspodcast.com, and all the links that I've talked about will be in the show notes for episode 553 when this airs next week, and you'll be able to see Gregor and Hitomi at the FREESIA Challenge, which I'll share that link as well. Thank you, friends. This has been a beautiful way to catch up with you both and to inspire other people, and I'm so glad we could do this.
You are truly welcome. We enjoyed it.
Yeah.
And
Yes.
we go on.
Okay, take care.
Yes.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much for joining us today. As Gregor and Hitomi discussed, to support the FREESIA Challenge and keep it free of outside and commercial interests, they are presenting a series of live lectures coinciding with each of the 4 challenge themes. And that's available for $150. Each lecture is live streamed, and registrants will have access to the full replay videos. So you can go ahead and still sign up and watch the first session that actually aired in March. I'll post all the details, including a 5-minute compilation video from Hitomi and Gregor's first FREESIA Challenge lecture, in the show notes today at Slow Flowers Podcast for episode 553. Before I go, I'd love to thank our sponsors who bring our show to you. This show is brought to you by slowflowers.com, the free online directory to more than 880 florists, shops, and studios who design with local, seasonal, and sustainable flowers, and to the farms that grow those blooms. It's the conscious choice for buying and sending flowers. And thank you to our lead sponsor, returning for 2022, Farm Girl Flowers. Farm Girl Flowers delivers iconic burlap wrap bouquets and lush, abundant arrangements to customers across the U.S., supporting U.S. flower farms by purchasing more than $10 million of U.S.-grown fresh and seasonal flowers and foliage annually. Discover more at farmgirlflowers.com. Thank you to Longfield Gardens, which provides home gardeners with high-quality flower bulbs and perennials. Their online store offers plants for every region and every season, from tulips and daffodils to dahlias, caladium, and amaryllis. Check out the full catalog at longfield-gardens.com. Thank you to Johnny's Selected Seeds, an employee-owned company that provides our industry with the best flower, herb, and vegetable seeds, supplied to farms, large and small, and even to backyard cutting gardens like mine. Find the full catalog of flower seeds and bulbs at johnnysseeds.com. And thank you to Mayesh Wholesale Florist. Family owned since 1978, Mayesh is the premier wedding and event supplier in the U.S., and we're thrilled to partner with them to promote local and domestic flowers, which they source from farms large and small around the U.S. Learn more at mayesh.com. The Slow Flowers Show is a member-supported endeavor, and I value our loyal members and supporters. If you're new to our weekly show or our long-running podcast, check out all of our resources at slowflowerssociety.com and consider making a donation to sustain Slow Flowers' ongoing advocacy, education, and outreach activities. You can find the donate button in the column at the right at slowflowerspodcast.com. I'm Deborah Prinzing, host and producer of The Slow Flowers Show and The Slow Flowers Podcast. Next week, you're invited to join me in putting more slow flowers on the table, one stem, one vase at a time. The content and opinions expressed here are either mine alone or those of my guests alone, independent of any podcast sponsor or other person, company, or organization. Thanks so much for joining us today, and I'll see you next